Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Andrew and this is going to be a little bit different content. In this video, I'm going to build a PC with a good performance, but for the lowest cost as possible. Also, this video is going to be a little guide for how you can do it and how you can build a PC. Now, I'm going to show which parts I found in chronological order. Just a basic info, but later, I'm gonna dive deeper into the specs and why and how this is going. The CPU is AMD Ryzen 7 7800X 3D, and I got this CPU for about 80% lower price on Autumn sale. The motherboard is Gigabyte B650 Gaming X AXV2. It's a nice motherboard, and I got this motherboard for about 22% cheaper. Also, the CPU and the motherboard, I got it from the same store. So later I got a little bit more price off. The power supply is MSI MPG A850G. It's an 850 watt gold power supply, fully modular, and it's enough to power up the entire system. Also, this power supply I got it about 25% cheaper. From the same store I got a PC case, and the case is NZXT H7 Flow. This is a very good quality computer case with a great ability for cable management. The case I got it for about 14%, plus I got a little bit more price off for the both products. The SSD is 1TB M2 Samsung 990 EVO, and this part I got it at the best price, about 32% cheaper than the regular price. This is from a different place. The cooling is Deepcool LS720S Zero Dark. This is a budget but a very nice power cooling, and this cooling costs about 21% cheaper. Also, the cooling is from a different store. With a different store, I mean I got these parts from a different stores. The RAM is 30 gigs in total, I mean 2 modules from 16 gigs each, DDR5. And as well, the RAM I got it for about 50% from the regular price. But with making some exceptions and a little patience, it was enough to save for the graphic card. And this is 16 gigs AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT GDDR6. This is a used GPU, but in a very good condition. Now let's build this machine, and we'll start with the PC case first. The NZXT was not the first option because of the price, but because I got a good offer together with a power supply, then why not? In general, this is a very nice quality PC case. There is enough space to put stuff here. The panels from the case are easily removable and everything is easy accessible. I mean, not to build a PC only, but also later is easier to clean and maintain the PC. And this is for the beginners. Before building a PC, it's always better to take a look at the case first and make a plan. I mean, you have to see how the PC case is looking from the inside, how much space you have for the motherboard, the GPU, the cooling and other parts. But also how much space you have for the cables. I mean, where the cables can pass through and what is the best option for the cables because of better cable management. The power supply is the next thing what I'm going to mount. Inside the box is the power supply and a bag with the cables. Here the power supply is going with a cooling fan turned to the bottom side of the PC case, because the fresh air is coming from below. Here I'm using a very dull head of Phillips screwdriver. A dull head won't scratch or damage the screws. Damaged screws to a new or even any PC are simply looking ugly. Before I place any screws, I turn the screwdriver backwards because the bolt thread to fall in the right position. Now the bolt will be in place and it won't damage any thread. Here or at any point when you're building a PC or laptop, never twist with a force because that may and will cause damage only. I mount the power supply first because to check the length of the cables. Also to check which cables where to go, how many cables do I need, and this is just a basic plan. The next part is the motherboard. As always, carefully, I will take the motherboard out of the box and some other stuff that I need. Also, it's always recommended to have something soft on where the motherboard will be placed. It's not recommended to place the motherboard on a hard or rough surface, because from the other side the motherboard has small tiny components that are very vital and important. And this is IM5 socket DDR5 motherboard. Supports AMD Ryzen 7000, 8000 and 9000 series. It has almost all the ports and slots that you need. Built-in Wi-Fi and maximum supports up to 256 gigs of RAM. I mean, that is too much. And I think 32 gigs is like a baseline and 64 gigs is perfectly fine. For the last 5 years, I've been using 64 gigs RAM on my main PC and I never had used the whole RAM. I'm reaching 45 to 48, but never more than that. I mean, I'm reaching that in extreme situations. The next part is the CPU. Overall, this is a very powerful and very nice CPU. I mean, for gaming, working, video editing, doing some stuff and anything else. Before placing the CPU on the motherboard, do not remove the plastic cover from the motherboard socket, because one little mistake here can damage the socket pins. Also, the plastic cover will fall off by itself when you place the CPU. Placing the CPU is easy. There are two plastic tooths, so basically you cannot place the CPU upside down or in any wrong direction. And here the plastic cover is ejected by the CPU. The next part is the M2 SSD. 1TB maybe is too low for this system, but it's still fine to keep some data and games. Anyway, later the storage is easy expandable with another M2 or standard 2.5-inch SSDs. And one thing, never use standard, old mechanical drives on new computers, because it will slow down the entire computer. Also, before I place the M2 cover, there is a sticker that has to be removed, peeled out from the cover. This cover also serves as M2 cooling as well. And if you leave the plastic, it may cause overheating. Overheating to the M2 disk is a very rare, but it may happen. The next part on the list is the RAM. This is DDR5 G-Skill CL30. Running at 6000 MHz, and this is the best match for the CPU and the motherboard. The best match for the entire system. If you have two models like I do here, then the modules needs to be placed in the right slots because to take full advantage. In this case is the slot A2 and B2. Sometimes this is marked on the motherboard. If this is not on the motherboard, then it's available on the official website or in the user manual. And also make sure that the RAM is correctly and fully inserted into the RAM slot. If the RAM is not fully inserted as needs to be, it may burn later. This is happening rare as well, but it's still happening. Now the motherboard is ready and I'm going to move to the cooling. Deepcool, from my personal experience, is a high quality, nice looking, great performance and budget cooling. This cooling, let's say, systems are super easy to prepare and mount. Even the user manual is very simple, so anyone can understand, even if you're doing this for the first time and with no experience. After I place the AMD socket mount, I retune the plastic protector because there is a thermal paste and because of protecting the bottom side, which is coming on the CPU. Now it's time to mount all the parts inside the PC case. I always prefer placing the PC case in a horizontal position. First, it's safer and to avoid any damage. And simply, it's easier to place all the parts in their place. Before I place the motherboard, first I check the standoffs on the PC case. I mean, are all the standoffs in place or do I need to move some standoff? And if some standoff is not in the place or it's in the wrong place, it may damage the motherboard from below. Now it's time to place the cooling and mount the radiator. Over the motherboard, I always use some fabric or mat for protection. I mean to protect the motherboard from any damage or scratches. Also, let's say it is simple. The both hoses from the cooling must not be twisted too much. The hose must be in more, let's say, nice, relaxed and good position, because the liquid to pass through easier and faster. And with that, the CPU will cool down better and faster. Many liquid cooling systems have additional cables from the cooling fans. In this case, I can connect the cables after mounting the cooling, because the PC case has an out space. But if I mounted this cooling in a more narrow PC case, then I had to connect the cables before mounting the cooling. Now it's time to do some cable management. The cables from the water pump, I will hide it under upper layers of the heatsink around the CPU. This is a cool, I mean not hot place to place the cables, and no problem with the cable. Before I place the other cables, first I straight up the cables, and here I won't need many cables. I need the main cable for the motherboard, the cable for the CPU power, and two cables for the GPU. Before I continue with anything else, I need to do some basic cleaning to the GPU. This is a used GPU, but in a good condition. Also, I got a request to not open the GPU. I just have been asked to make some basic dust off using brushes, compressed air, and a little polishing the things up. The GPU has two 8-pin power connectors, and here I'm going to use two separate cables from the power supply. Actually, I'm going to separate the power because it's better for the GPU and better for the power supply. The cables from the GPU, I put it from behind the GPU because to not block the fresh air from below, and also it looks nice and neat. And later it's going to be easier to maintain and clean the PC case. Also, it's going to be easier to add a GPU holder or a GPU stand. The GPU stand or the GPU holder is recommended for most systems that have a heavy and big GPUs, like this one, because to protect the PCI Express slot on the motherboard. And here we can see that the GPU is a little bit tilted to the back side, so the holder is necessary here. And I'm done with building this PC. And this is the final result. Now, I moved to installing Windows drivers, making some basic customization and testing. Because I had a short time, I had time to download one game only, and I used Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Here, I used all max settings and a 4K resolution. And under the settings, this PC build is working super fine. The temperatures are pretty normal. The CPU is about 50 or under 50 Celsius in maximum load, and the GPU is about 57 to 65. Also used MSI Afterburner to make manual fan control according to temperatures. And the frame rate in a 4K is between 70 and 100. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, maybe it's an older game, but still very demanding in performance. It has super nice textures, details and graphics. This PC build turns much cheaper because all the parts are different. Some people do like this, some people do not like this. For example, if I go with all ASUS or MSI or other brands, I mean ASUS motherboard, ASUS GPU, ASUS power supply, NZXT PC case, NZXT liquid cooling, different RAM and Samsung Pro SSD, all is going to look very beautiful, I mean really beautiful and very nice, and all in tone. In this case, all the parts are mixed and different, but this is a balance in terms of price and performance. So, when you have a lower budget, but you need a performance, you simply hunt for the parts. Well, and this is all about this PC build. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope this video will give some new ideas and some inspiration to do something different and something better. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.